Hey, we're back at the Foot Traffic head office. We've still got Nikki Mathews next to me. So just to recap, Nikki raced Ironman 70.3 Western Sydney last weekend. She had a great race. She came second in her age group, 12th overall female. And so we talked a little bit about the race itself and the swim in that previous video. So this time here we're going to talk about the bike leg. So I sent Nikki to the race with a specific power plan and an expectation that she would ride 237 based on the weather conditions. We use Best Bike Split to predict or to set that performance. And in Training Peaks we have her as riding 234.25, but on the official results it's actually 235.39. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there, but we won't worry too much about that. But Nikki's experience during the bike leg you will understand why there's a slight discrepancy there, and more importantly, you'll find out why it was an impressive ride, because as it happened, you didn't really have any power data that you could trust during it. So what happened?
It's very exciting. Yes, came out of the swim, ready to hit the bike, knew what power I had to hit, hit my power, ready to start it, and it had malfunctioned. And so I had a little meltdown. For about 20 seconds, pulled myself together. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Spun the wheels around, tried to reset it. And then I thought, in nice words, oh dear, I might as well just ride. So I ran out of transition and just started biking, and then thought I could probably try and get it working on the bike, which I managed to get some power reading. And at least that would give me an indication of whether I could, it was probably wrong, but it would give me an indication of whether I was holding power or dropping throughout the entire race.
Yeah.
And I know we'd discussed previously what my time should be, so I kind of knew on the first lap what time I should hit in order to achieve the 237 time, the total time. So, yeah, it was an interesting ride.
So obviously you're riding on perceived effort mainly.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
And you had done some training sessions in the weeks prior.
Yes.
So you kind of knew what
I knew it felt like.
Yeah, so you knew what 200 watts feels like.
Yeah.
So the good thing about that, and a lot of people can learn from this, is if your power meter doesn't work or your bike computer doesn't work, do you know what your actual race power is? And a lot of people won't know, and I think it's very important to understand actually what that race intensity feels like, because there's a high chance that technology may fail you on the day, and you have to go back to the old school method of racing on feel.
Yeah.
But as it happened, power didn't let us down. We still collected some data. So miraculously, by some magic, her power meter was still recording. And upon uploading, to my surprise, there was very, very accurate numbers. So this is actually quite good, because now I can come back to it and go, well, how did Nikki go in perceived effort? And actually, as you know, she rode a couple of minutes quicker than was planned. But really, it was a spot-on performance. So I was hoping she would have a TSS of about 190, so she came away with a 198 TSS. Touch higher than what we may have wanted, but you'll understand in a minute when we delve into the depths of the laps of these. But the intensity factor was 0.88, so that's 88% of functional threshold power. And for those of you who are more experienced will understand what that means, but for those of you who don't quite understand power, 0.88 is pretty hard to maintain for 2.5 hours. So you have to be pretty fit to be able to hold that. That came out as a normalized power of 197 watts, which actually was an average power of 190. So those two numbers are really important. 190 is the average power, 197 is the normalized power, giving a variability of 4%. So the variability index explains how surgy the ride was. And to only have 7 watts difference, or 4% difference, or 4% variability, having not having a power number to follow, that's a great internal power meter. It's really, really good. I've seen athletes come away with a power meter and have a 15% variance. So the variability on the bike has a massive bearing on how your run performance goes. And as you'll see when we get to the run data, that had that bike been any surgier, I don't think Nikki would have had quite as good a run. So that was a fantastic effort there. There was a slightly higher decoupling than I would like to have seen, 6.45%. So we normally look for anything under 5% as being acceptable for aerobic fitness. So a couple of things come away from that. Nikki still needs to work on aerobic fitness. She's got the power, and she can put the watts out, but it's over a longer period of time that we begin to see that there's some weaknesses coming through. So as the race went on, the power dropped away, the heart rate started to increase, and you started getting this decoupling occurring. But again, if the power meter wasn't working and we didn't have this information, it wouldn't have come through. So this is where post-race analysis is so important with power. Cadence of 90. Can't complain about that.
A big difference from my usual 80.
Yeah, so another thing that I've really been working on, Nikki, is to try and get the cadence up, because I like seeing a really nice, smooth, fluid pedaling style, and Nikki sort of used to muscle a gear through. So we've changed it around a fair bit over the last few months, and I think that's coming through. If we scroll down into the power through the power and the heart rate through the zones, you can see that mostly zone 2 heart rate, which I look at that and think, well, maybe you're
clearly wasn't working hard enough.
Yeah. Either that, or you were very, very relaxed and in control of the race. We'll go with that one. But you can just see with this power graph that it's very smooth and very consistent, very gradual. If we break it down into the laps, so we look at the first lap, was 1 hour 15, and that was ridden at 208 watts, so 93% of threshold, which is too high. For a half Ironman, obviously we'd like it to be 85 to 90% of threshold, so you were actually pushing out a little bit too hard. But the thing is, Nikki's a racer, and she knew that the race was up the road. She knew there was someone ahead of her, so instinct comes through. I'm going to push the boat out a little bit here, and it showed that 208 watts for an hour and a quarter is probably a little bit too high. But if she'd caught up to the girl that was leading the age group, then it would have been a much different scenario. But if you'd sat back and just cruised, you may never have known what had happened. So I'm not disappointed at you. I think that's
disappointed in the second half. Let's put it that way.
So the second half is interesting. So it's hard to maintain power through the duration of a race, and you can see that this was averaged at 185 watts. So we've gone 20 watts less, 83% of threshold. So it's dropped away quite a bit. Cadence is still maintained, so that's a really important thing. If I'd seen the power drop and the cadence start to drop away, then we know that you really cooked.
Right.
But actually, this is not a bad thing. And you actually said to me that you noticed that the power was lower as you came back, because you did have a power number that you could see, but you didn't trust it.
Yeah. So I just knew it was lower.
Yeah, you knew it was lower, and the wind had come up a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So again, this is really useful for analysis. Had we known what was going to happen through that race, I probably would have given Nikki some stricter instructions of holding back a little bit on that first lap, pushing a little bit on the second lap. But again, heart rate was well in control. You came off the bike and you were ready for a running race. And that was a running race, wasn't it?
It was.
So we're going to talk about that in the next video. So
stay tuned.
Yeah. The suspense is killing you, I can tell.